Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. Today we're going to jump into lesson 4, specific immunity antibody production. So today we're going to take a look at the third and final line of defense that the human body has to fight against pathogens that have gone through the first and second line of defense. So for today's agenda, we're going to be filling out our notes packet for lesson 4 using the teacher PowerPoint slide that is attached here and this YouTube video. So if you have this open, great start. And number 2, we're going to complete the worksheet applying knowledge to real life scenarios based off of the information that we're going to be learning about today about the third line of defense or specific immune response. So this worksheet will be due for homework. So you're going to get to fill out this once you are all done with getting the notes for today's lesson. So let's jump right on in. Yesterday we talked about the second line of defense, and remember, the second line of defense was non-specific immunity. So we dealt with phagocytes. Phagocytes, remember, are the white blood cells that are just going to engulf any invader or any pathogen that it finds within the body. And phagocytes are also going to help with the now third line of defense. So we know them in helping us out with our second line of defense, but they're also going to play a role in helping us out with our third line. And when we talk about our third line of defense, we're now going to be talking about specific immunity. So our white blood cells, specifically the lymphocytes, as we see here, they are now going to attack pathogens because they know what they are. So they're going to be attacking specific pathogens with antibodies. And the lymphocytes that we'll be talking about today include B cells and T cells and killer cells. So as per usual, we have a couple of videos here that you can watch in addition to this one to help you out after you watch this video to go through and kind of do an overview of what we're about to take a look at today. So today is going to be a lot about antibodies and antigens. You've probably heard both of the words before, just in communication with others or in other science classes. So we're going to take a look at what exactly antigens and antibodies are and how exactly are they helping with our specific immune response or our third line of defense. So let's first just take a look at what exactly these two definitions for these two words are. So an antigen is a substance or molecule often found on a cell or a virus surface. So they cause antibodies to form. So specifically, antigens are characteristics to the surface of a cell or cell type. So you are going to find antigens on the surface of pathogens or invaders. Now, antibodies, they kind of sound the same because they both start with anti or anti. So antibody is going to be a globular protein that recognizes a specific antigen and binds to it as a part of the immune response. So looking at our picture, this Y-shaped thing here is our antibody, where the antigen is going to be connected to a cell, and it's going to be on the surface of that cell and allows the antibody to bind to it. So antibodies are specific to certain antigens. So specific antibodies are going to bind to only that specific antigen. Okay. An immune response is triggered by non-self cells, which is why matches are crucial in transplants and blood transfusions and why stem cell technologies are so promising. So if you take a look at the picture here, we can kind of take a look at what exactly antigens and antibodies are visually. So let's say you had type A blood. Your white blood cells or your blood is going to contain antibodies against B. So your red blood cells are going to have the antigen or the surface structures of A, of blood type A. So your body's antibodies are not going to attack it because your body's antibodies are antibody B. So let's say you got a transplant from type B blood, but you're type A blood, your blood that's already in your body, those cells that are in your body that's made to protect it, is going to be like, hold on, something's in the body that does not have correct antigens that match our blood type. So your body's antibodies would be like, no way, this is not supposed to be in here, and would reject it. So that's why it's really important looking at surface structure on different cells in general, and of course on pathogens and invaders as well. So let's look even deeper into antibodies. So antibodies, aka immunoglobulins, are going to be large Y-shaped proteins produced mainly by plasma cells. And we're going to get a little bit into that in a couple of minutes, couple of seconds. So again, our antibodies, the Y-shaped structure that we took a look at in the other video as well. So here is the Y-shaped structure. So remember, antibodies function in different ways, but all functions are a consequence of their initial attachment to the antigen. So again, antibodies are going to be connected to specific antigens. And that's why we call it the specific immune response, because those antibodies will only correlate with antigens that they're supposed to match up with. So let's take a look at our immune response. I'm going to present the screen so you can see it a little bit better. So the specific immune response, how is our body going to be attacking a pathogen if we're using the specific immune response? So if nonspecific immunity fails, so again, if the pathogen gets past the barriers, the mucous membranes, the clotting, and phagocytosis, the body is now going to produce a specific immune response, and it's going to target the pathogen that has invaded the body. So the challenge that the body is going to be faced with is that the pathogen now enters the blood. What is our body going to do to now try to stop this pathogen? So here is our response. Here's the body's response that it's going to take. First, that pathogen is going to be engulfed by a macrophage, or it's going to be engulfed by a phagocyte, what we talked about in yesterday's lesson. That macrophage, or that phagocyte, is going to take on that antigen that was on the surface of the pathogen. Okay, so that cell surface protein is going to make the macrophage, or the phagocyte that engulfs the pathogen, it's going to take on that antigen that was present on the cell surface of the pathogen. So we're going to present that epitope to T cells. Now we know that T cells are another type of lymphocyte. So complementary helper T cells are going to be activated. And those helper T cells, now remember, T cells identify a pathogen. Those helper T cells are now going to stimulate an appropriate B cell. And remember, from the reading from that first lesson that we did, or the first intro that we did to this unit, remember T cells recognize an antigen, and it's going to stimulate B cells to start creating antibodies. So again, once that helper T cell is activated, it's then going to stimulate the appropriate B cell, or the appropriate B cell to create the appropriate antibody. So B cells are going to then be told that they need to start producing, and they're going to start producing clones. They're going to make replicates of themselves, because they're the ones who are going to make the antibodies, and we want a lot of them. So the clones are then either going to become plasma cells or memory cells. Now, these are very interesting type of cells. So the first one that could be produced by the B cells are plasma cells, and the plasma cells are the ones who are going to be producing antibodies, whereas the memory cells are going to remain as immunity to the pathogen. So let's say you got sick for the first time by one pathogen. If that pathogen comes back, your memory cells now have that antibody, and they're going to be prepared really quickly if that pathogen happens to re-enter your body at another time. So I now want you to pause the video and watch this immune response video right here that's linked onto the slide. It's a very good visual of what exactly your body is doing and how phagocytes, T cells, and B cells are all playing a role in this specific immune response.